Alrighty, so we have some prep work to do for the drift event this weekend. It's a big event, 2 days. It's going to be a lot of driving, a lot of seat time. So we can just get everything ready so we can head out tomorrow. Now, I've been talking about this big news, these big life changes coming, and finally owe it to you guys to explain it. I wanted to wait until things were set in stone. Everything was done, but we're kind of at a weird spot now with everything, and it could drag out longer depending on how things go, which direction things go. So I figured I'd at least explain it, and explain mainly, why I haven't started working on any new projects, why I haven't dove into anything new, and there's a good reason for it. Again, said big life change, but yeah. So back this thing over to the shop. Got a couple little things to do real quick. We'll start getting loaded up. First item on the to-do list, changing our fuel filters. One, we're converting to Cat ones. Two, these have been on the truck since the truck was built. It's got about 5,000 miles now. Now, we're not pushing it at that point, but I figured the truck's kind of been through a lot. We had reused diesel in there, and we had to drill into the tank, so it's just a good idea to get them replaced now. Get it over with, and start fresh. All right, so what is this extreme life change? Basically, the long and short of it is I am trying to buy a house. So I've been kind of considering moving back to Orlando for a while now, for several reasons, right? So, all right, Cat filters are installed. That was a bit of a messier process than anticipated because the illustration here shows the filters go backwards from what it says online. And online on their instructions, the filter part numbers are different. So I'm like, did they switch it and they didn't fit the other way like it said online? And it was just a mess. I had to take them on and off like 5 times. And I just ended up putting them like I had them with the fuel filter on this side and the water separator up front. It seems to work, so we're good. We're good. Just messy because I kept having to take the fuel filter off and fuel was dumping out. It was a mess. So anyway, now we need to go hook up to the trailer, start getting loaded up. Now I smell like straight diesel. All right, so a lot of people probably wondering why I moved back to Orlando. I've talked about this in the past, the idea of moving back, and a lot of people are like, I don't understand why you would move back. For those of you who don't know, where I live now, I moved out here because Ben bought this house, and at the time I was working at BC, so I was working a normal job and doing YouTube, and where I lived, having just a 2-car garage, it wasn't really an ideal setup for doing more than I was doing. I didn't have room for more projects. I didn't have space for a trailer, things like that. So I was faced with the decision to move out here and pursue YouTube full time, or stay in Orlando and basically work at BC still and continue to do YouTube part time. So after thinking long and hard about it, I decided to move out here and at least try to do YouTube full time and see kind of what came of it. And it's gone well. But, I want to be back in Orlando. I want to be close to my friends again. Right now I live an hour and a half away. So if someone's having a barbecue, if someone's having a shopping, if someone's doing anything, it's a 3-hour round trip on the highway for me to get there and then come back. So a lot of times I just don't go because it's like, oh, I'd like to go hang out for an hour or two. I have a little bit of time, but I can't, take a whole day and go out there unless it's something big and important. So I just end up not going. So I want to be closer to my friends, closer to the stuff that's going on in that aspect. And then on top of that, my girlfriend and I have been together for almost 3.5 years now. And, it's time we get our own place together, and all her friends are in Orlando, her old job's in Orlando. So it just kind of makes sense for us to move back to Orlando. And when I say Orlando, I mean the Orlando area, not like I'm trying to move to downtown Orlando. I'm just trying to be within like 30-45 minutes of Orlando, in the general area of like East Orlando and North. So I'm kind of close to all the things I do, BC and Longwood and all that stuff. So yeah, that's the plan. Trying to move back to Orlando. How we're going to do it is kind of the big news. So the original plan was to rent a house, rent a shop in an industrial park, rent a house. But that idea, just the more I thought about it, seems so bleak because I'm going to have a shop probably at least 20 minutes away from where I live. I can't store my big trailer at the shop. I can't even store all my cars at like the type of shop I would get. So I'd have to store my cars separately, store some cars at the house. I'd have to find a house to rent that I could store my trailer at, this guy that we're hooking up to right now, to get hooked up. the different avenues of buying, just kind of seeing what my options were. And I really like the idea of buying land, putting like an RV on it, and building, you know, a cool container house setup and a shop. But the more I thought about it, I'm like, there's no way I'm going to be able to have the time to do all that myself and still have time to drift and build cars and whatever. That's a big project. So I shelved the idea, and I recently went back to the idea because I was like, oh, I could buy a prefab tiny house, kind of temporary but more permanent than living in an RV building stuff, and buy some land, buy the tiny house, live in that, you know, finance building the shop or something like that. So that's when I stumbled upon a property that was 10 acres and had a big 50 by 70 shop with an apartment in it. It definitely needed more house apartment built, but it would have been a good start. So I was thinking about buying that, and I started doing some research into financing and found out it wasn't really going to work because it wasn't listed as a residence. So since I had already done some of the work and got some information on getting financing, I was like, well, let me see about buying a house. So my plan was just to buy a small, you know, ideally block house on like a half acre and build a shop. But things get complicated when you're trying to build a shop where you have a small house, because generally the laws require it to be like only 25% the square footage of the house and yada yada. So as I'm looking around at different places to potentially check out, I find this house that has a garage and a detached garage. And I was like, you know, this could maybe work. Like ideally, there's not really enough room to build a separate shop, and I'd rather have a big shop than 2 garages, but you know, let me look at it. So I went and looked at it, and the detached garage is a lot bigger than I thought it was. It's like a shop size, and then the garage is a lot bigger than I thought it was. You know, the area with all the concrete and stuff, like, it's a pretty sick setup. So anyway, long story short, I put an offer in on it, and I've been going through the process, trying to get the mortgage on it, trying to buy it. And let me tell you, it's been a bit of a roller coaster. It's like one thing after another. Like, oh no, it's not gonna work because of this. And then we get through that, and then it's the next thing. So I made sure to keep my expectations low and not get my hopes up that this is gonna happen, because, you know, I don't wanna get excited about it and then it doesn't happen. So I've tried to, well, keep my expectations low and not really think it's gonna happen until it potentially does. So that's kind of where I've been at, and why I haven't really wanted to start any new projects. Because, for example, the turbo truck, which is what I was going to work on next, if I were to start on the truck and it was not running, then I got to move 2 more vehicles, because as of right now, that truck can tow an open trailer with a car on it, versus having to tow the truck, having to tow the open trailer, and having to tow a car. So that, as well as all the time I've had to spend, you know, doing stuff for the mortgage and all this stuff, you know, going and looking at the house, the inspection, and back and forth and things like that, it's taken a bunch of time, right? So because of that, pretty much everything for me has been on hold. You know, I also, aside from just moving, I don't want to start or dive into some major project right before I move, potentially move. So it's just been this limbo state where I'm not sure if it's going to go through or not, but I don't want to assume it's not. I don't want to assume it is. And it's been a constant, like, not gonna happen, not gonna happen. It's been quite stressful, a lot more stressful than I anticipated, to be honest. But yeah, we're pretty much on the home stretch. Should know for sure soon. There is kind of one last major roadblock that I don't really have any control over. I mean, I guess a lot of it I don't have control over. It doesn't really have anything to do with me doing or not doing the right things. It's just kind of like independent of that. So I'm not sure how that's gonna go. I'm really hoping that it goes through. I really want this house. I'm excited about it. I think it would be amazing. It's a great setup for me and what I want to do. But we're still in limbo, and the limbo has potentially been extended. So I don't know, man. Oh, I'm gonna have to pull this thing forward to get this chalk out. Like I said, definitely more stressful than I anticipated. The thing with buying a house is just there's like 7 million things that can go wrong. There's probably 10 things that all have to work out, you know? Like 10 separate individual things. And if one of those is wrong, one of those doesn't work, the whole thing doesn't work. So, very, very stressful. Get that chalk. But yeah, one way or the other, definitely gonna be moving back to Orlando. Having my own place would just be so much better than renting. It's so much better. You know, it's more cost effective and it's permanent. I hate the idea of renting a shop and painting it and fixing it up and doing all this stuff knowing I'm not gonna be there for very long. And I like the idea of, you know, not renting a house, having a permanent place that's mine. I don't have to worry about the renters deciding, hey, the market's good, we're gonna sell. So I really, really do hope it works out. It'll be the first time in my life that I've had my own workspace, my own dedicated workspace. I've literally gone through just about every extreme. You know, I started out pushing boxes to the side of my dad's garage to just barely cram my car in there. And then from there, you know, working out of a storage unit for a short time. You couldn't even work on the car end because it was too small. Then I ended up renting at a house with just a driveway, no garage at all. So, I mean, I literally built the SR for my hatch on the screened-in porch and put it in the driveway. Then I eventually moved to my Orlando house, which is where I lived before I moved here, and finally had a garage. But I mean, I was sharing a 2-car garage with 3 car guys. So we each got a wall, you know, obviously it was packed with stuff, 3 car guys stuff in a 2-car garage. And, you know, there was cars everywhere. We could only have so many cars each, and even then was pushing it. And, you know, it was just tough. It was a small space for that many people. And then I moved here, and I mean, this has been a great setup. This has been a huge improvement over what I've had before. You know, here I have my own lift, I have a workbench, I have a toolbox, I have my own shelf section. You know, it's a drastic improvement from the old 2-car garage. Let's start loading these tires up. We only got 2 to load up. That is the beauty of an enclosed trailer. All the tires I haven't used yet are in here. Just gotta toss a pair up here and we're ready to rip. All right, 1 new set, 2 new sets, 3 new sets, used. That should be enough. But as good as this space is, it's still not mine and mine alone. You know, this space is still, I share it. And it works out pretty well. You know, it's not like we have any issues or anything, but for me, like I'm really organized with my stuff, and I like to be kind of OCD about it. Even if I had a long day, I'm still gonna take the time to put all my tools up at the end of the day. So the idea of having my own entire space, like my own entire shop, that I can keep as organized and as neat and be as OCD about it as I want, like, just sounds so amazing. Okay, I got a couple tools to throw in here. It's quite hot in here. My wheel end is actually the only thing I have to put back in here. All right, well, that was easy. Hopefully I didn't forget anything, but I think we're pretty much loaded up. So yeah, I mean, I really hope it all works out, just mainly for that reason. Again, you know, I don't want to own my own house. That'd be cool. I want to be able to fix it up and make it exactly how I want it, but I want to have my own workspace. That's the biggest thing, just having my own place to do my thing and set it up and keep it exactly how I want it. I've never really had that, ever. And the idea of having that is just like, it's so close. It's so close. I can almost touch it with my fingertips. We're not quite there yet. Oh, we're not quite there yet, boys, but keep your fingers crossed for me. Hopefully this all goes through. But either way, I'm going to be starting on the Zafiro here soon, getting parts ordered, getting everything ready, and we're going to dive into that thing because I got to get crunching on it. Whether I got to move it non-running or not, I got to get going on it. I can't really wait any longer. So, all right, let's get this thing loaded up because we are going drifting. And that's what I'm worried about right now, drifting. Take my mind off the house and we're drifting. That's what we're worried about. Nice thing about looking up with an enclosed is you get to strap the car down in the shade. to load it. I'm sure I'm forgetting something that I need to bring, but definitely easy having the enclosed again. Not have to load it up all that much, but I'm really excited to dive into the Sphero build because, you know, not having a project like that, I mean, it's just driven me nuts. You know, I finished the Fummins, and the Fummins was such like a big, involved project, and the end goal was like such a big deal, the finish line. Finally having my dream truck, having a truck to tow my enclosed again, like there was a lot at the end of the tunnel, right? And then having that done and not really having anything to fill its place, I feel empty. It's like a void, you know? So I'm really excited to start on the Sphero and have another project like that I'm really passionate about and excited about, and the end result should be awesome. So again, we'll get started on that soon. But yeah, we're going drifting. Again, that's all we're thinking about. Just keep your fingers crossed for me on the house. Sorry I couldn't really go into more detail. I'm going to wait until things are sorted or not sorted. It's really hard to balance like this. I can kind of explain everything further then, but for now, just wanted to let you guys know what was going on and why I haven't started on anything new yet. So, see you guys for the next video, drifting. Hope to see you guys for that, but thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing.